Is it hot? It's a little hot right now, right? Isn't it?
We
A
good.
little bit? Hey, let's do this.
Hare
Dhamma ki jai. Sri Navadvip Mayapur Dhamma ki jai. Jagannath Gopal Dhamma ki jai. Lower East Side, New York City Dhamma ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Okay, keep on going.
No? Let's keep on.
Encore.
Encore! Encore! Hare Krishna Encore!
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday Bhagavat Sravana program. We're so happy to have you here at Bhakti Center today. And I do want to just thank Ari Prabhu for leading us in such wonderful kirtan. Thank you for keeping the Hare Krishna encore going. Loved it. I believe that most people have been here before. No one new in the space today? Anyone's first time at Bhagavat Sravana? Wonderful. Welcome. So as you know, this is our Sunday program for anyone who's online. The format will be as follows. We just had some wonderful kirtan. We will have a class by His Grace Jagannath Gopal Das Prabhu, and then we will have Arti for their lordships, some more kirtan, and then we'll have prasadam in the back. So I'm very pleased to introduce a beloved community member whom most of you know. His Grace Jagannath Gopal Das Prabhu. He works as a software engineer in an investment bank in Jersey City. And he joined us in the US and to Bhakti Center in 2017. So getting close to 10 years, Prabhu.
Wow.
Wow. He holds a master's degree in computer science from SUNY Stony Brook, and he was introduced to Krishna consciousness during his undergraduate studies in Pune. He is involved in many sevas here at Bhakti Center and at 26 2nd Avenue, presenting Krishna consciousness in discussions, discourses, and writing. And you may have seen him. He's pretty fantastic in our dramas as well. But we're very, very grateful to be able to have his association and to hear a class from him today. So please give a very warm welcome and 3 Haribols for our special guest, His Grace Jagannath Gopal Das. Haribo! Haribo! Haribo!
That's the wrong words. That's not what I wanted to.
Okay, nobody look at that.
Use the right words.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Sorry. Let me just. Display is. Mirror. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo
Hare Krishna. So this verse is like a prologue. Is that what the right term? So in a book, when you open a book, you kind of have an incident from the book, and then the entire book kind of leads to that. So this is something like that. So we'll recite this verse, and then we'll get into the misunderstanding that led to this verse. So you can repeat. We'll do this call and response. This is a very beautiful verse, often quoted by Prabhupada. He loved this verse. And this is a verse about transformation. So we all are looking for transformation in spiritual life. So this is a verse about that. Tasyaravindanayasya padaravinda. Tasyaravindanayasya padaravinda. Kinjal kamishra tulasi makaranda vayu. Kinjal kamishra tulasi makaranda vayu. Antargata svavivarena chakarate sham. Antargata svavivarena Sanshobhamaksharajusham apichitta tanvoho. Sanshobhamaksharajusham Thank you. So we'll not get into the synonyms, we'll directly get into the translation. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulasi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of those sages, they experienced a change both in body and in mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. So we'll get into all these terms shortly. Just say quick prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Paramalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Sham Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauravishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Diva Sharapangam Langhai Tegrim Yat Kripadam Mande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So I was halfway through the prayers and I was like figuring this thing out. Then I realized, let me just do the prayers nicely. And then, so this thing, I want to move this. Let me look at this first. This will let me do it.
Are you just trying to present?
Yeah, and I need the presenters. I don't want you all to see my notes. Oh wait, where did this go?
So if you do slideshow mode, can you see your notes?
Yeah, but like the slideshow mode, I need to get it. Yeah, I need to get the slideshow mode on my machine, but then the slides itself need to go there. I've done this before, but
Goodness for that computer science degree.
okay, that is it. So, a misunderstanding at the doorstep of God's abode. So, sometimes we might think, is it even possible that there could be a misunderstanding at the doorstep of God's abode, right? But this is a very significant incident that is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, and it involves first the location, but then basically it involves great personalities. These 4 children, actually they look like children, but they are very advanced, spiritually realized beings. And then you see on the other side there are 2 guards. So in the middle is the Lord Narayan, and next to him are 2 guards on either side. So the guards are Jay and Vijay. So all these personalities are involved in this misunderstanding. And we'll get into the details, in whatever way we can, whatever depth we can, till we run out of time. But that is the story. And where does this occur? As mentioned, at the doorstep of God's abode. So God's abode is called Vaikuntha in Sanskrit. And now actually the Vedic cosmology is a little bit more nuanced. So I've heard in Christian theology there is the earth where we live, and then there is the heavens, and then there is the hell. But Vedic cosmology is a little bit more nuanced because there are multiple levels of existence of cosmology. So Vaikuntha, actually the word Vai in Sanskrit means without, and the word Kuntha means miseries. So the place which is devoid of any misery is called Vaikuntha. That is the abode of God. That is where God personally lives in his original form. And going back to the cosmology, right? This is as per the Vedic parlance. It's a little more nuanced. I just mentioned that so that we set the context. And I don't know why that happened. That's my mom calling. And where did that disappear? Yeah, there it is. Come on. Yeah. So let me put my phone on airplane mode. Sorry about that. So in the Vedic parlance, there is hellish planets where sinful souls are punished, and then above that are the lower planetary systems where there are souls who live there, but the enjoyment there is in the mode of ignorance. It's dark. So like there are descriptions in the scriptures that sunlight doesn't reach there, that kind of thing. So these are lower planetary systems. The enjoyment exists, but it's in the mode of ignorance. Then the middle planetary systems where we are. Here the enjoyment and misery is kind of balanced out. And so that is why we are actually in a unique place in terms of cosmology, because the misery and happiness is balanced out. We have more of an opportunity to connect to Krishna, connect to God, look to something higher in our lives. And then because in the lower planetary systems there is enjoyment, but there is suffering also to a great extent. So because of that suffering, one may not turn to God. And higher above us are the higher planetary systems, which are called as heavens. Prabhupada translates them as the heavenly planets. Now heavens in Christian theology means the abode of God, but as I said, the meanings are a little different here. So heavens here are also material universes, but the only difference in the heavens that the Vedas talk about is that the enjoyment is too much. It's just a lot of enjoyment. So what happens is, because of too much enjoyment in the heavens, heavenly planets, and because of too much suffering in the lower planets, it becomes difficult for someone to turn to God. Of course, it's not impossible. We can turn to God in any circumstance, but then as conditioned beings, our situation around us affects our effectiveness of connection to Krishna, right? And beyond this, beyond even the heavens, are what is known as the spiritual world, which is the kingdom of God, which is Vaikuntha, where there is no misery. There is temporariness even in the heavens as per Vedas, like as the higher planetary systems. So, but in the kingdom of God, it's not a debilitating place. Like in this world, time actually takes away everything. Time actually acts as the debilitating factor, and then there's birth, old age, disease, death. There are three miseries caused by other living entities, miseries caused by our own body and mind, and miseries caused by natural calamities, higher forces. But none of those things exist in the topmost realm, that is the spiritual world. And that is the location where this incident is occurring. And so actually there is one more kind of, as per the cosmology, there is one more thing between this. So below this is everything material or mundane, we can say, and then beyond this is the spiritual realm. But then in between there is like a light. It's the effulgence of God. It's just light, unlimited light, you can say. So then there is the material realm, the boundary, then the light, and then the spiritual worlds. So this is at the doorstep, at the gates of the spiritual world is where this incident is happening. Who? Right, the character descriptions. Now Kumaras, right? So Kumara, the Sanskrit meaning of the word Kumara is the age between 0 and 5. That is Kumara. Now these are self-realized souls. These four people are self-realized souls. Now the story is that they are the firstborn children of Brahma. Lord Brahma is the secondary creator. So the way the creation is explained in the Vedas is that Vishnu, who is actually an expansion of Krishna, there is a navel that sprouts from his there is a lotus that sprouts from his navel, and on that lotus is Lord Brahma. And initially there is just darkness in the universe, but then by his austerity, by his penance, Lord Brahma starts creating the worlds. And what we see today is actually created. In one sense, we created all this. Like man creates the buildings, but then the resources to create them are there to begin with. If they weren't there, man couldn't do anything with those. Without those. But then all these things are put into place by Brahma. And then, so Brahma, when he was born and he wanted to create progeny, he wanted the population to increase, he created these four children from his mind actually. Again, these are all very far out things. How can you create kids through your mind and stuff like that? That's not the experience in this world. But Brahma is a very highly intelligent being. He's made of intelligence actually. So what that means, we'll not get into that because it's already at 11:51. So these four kids, they were born, and then Brahma told them, look, I've given birth to you so that you can go and increase the population of the world, of the universes. And then these kids, they are actually, and then he enlightens them, right? He enlightens them. Now, sometimes if you've been in a situation where you want to explain something to someone, right? Especially to kids. So you're explaining them something, and then you're explaining that to them with an intention to give them some final message that you need to do this. And then imagine that after everything, those, the kids or whoever they are, they catch the exact opposite thing. They said, oh, very nice, thank you for telling me that, but I won't do that. Something like that happened with Brahma also. So he gave them spiritual enlightenment. He made them ready to start increasing the population, which is a service that he wanted to give to his kids. But then they were like, well, this is nice knowledge. We won't do the kid thing. We won't do the progeny thing, thank you. But we are quite enamored, quite fascinated by the absolute truth. Now, so that's why they became self-realized souls. And then they thought that if they grow up, if they increase their age, then they'll get entangled into the world. That's why they thought they'll restrict their age to 5 years. So that's what that's why these four Kumaras are actually, wherever they're depicted as 5-year-old kids. So very mystical beings and very highly realized beings. So at the time of this incident that took place, they were 5 years old and they were partially self-realized. What do you mean by partially self-realized, right? So they let's just put it in simple terms that they had not realized God in His completeness. They had realized God in some of His aspects. So as per the scriptures, God can be realized on 3 levels. God can be realized as all pervasive. God is everywhere, we say. Then God can be realized as the all-knowing and all-aware, right? And then beyond that, God can be realized as the all-loving God. And that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to realize God as the all-loving being, and we are trying to repose our love towards God. Right? So, but these Kumaras, they had knowledge of the all-loving nature of the Lord, but they hadn't experienced it. They were realized in the all-pervading aspect of the Lord. And to some extent, to the all-knowing aspect of the Lord as well. So it says in this chapter in the Bhagavatam that they had actually witnessed the Lord within their hearts. And then in the translation, one of the verses, it says that they were so enamored to see the same Lord whom they had witnessed in their heart, the same Lord appear before them. So they had that attraction, but they weren't really realized in that. So this is just, of course, this is very technical. I don't want to get into the technicality of this, but God can be realized on 3 levels: all pervasive, all knowing, all loving. And then the Kumaras were somewhere at all pervasive. Now there are 2 types of people at the all pervasive level. One type of people says that this is it, there is nothing beyond this. And then the other is they are open to something beyond the all pervasive aspect of God as well. So Kumaras were of the second category. They were open to something beyond. So they are the firstborn sons of Lord Brahma, restricted age to 5. Now Jay and Vijay, the next characters in this pastime. So Jay and Vijay are the doorkeepers of heaven. Sorry, not heaven, doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, or the spiritual world. Now, when I first read this, we say God is all powerful, right? He's all powerful. And then, so God's abode would be very amazing, very, he will definitely bestow that power on his abode. Now, why would the all powerful God, or Vishnu or Krishna, would need to have doorkeepers? And this is the first thought that came to my mind. And then I was thinking, so then the thing is, it's not that simplistic also, because in the spiritual worlds, the main focus is love. So you see the difference between the spiritual worlds and the whatever worlds below the spiritual world. The main striking difference, actually there are two, but the main striking difference is that all living entities in the spiritual world, they are there to serve God. They are there to serve Krishna. They are not there to exercise their own enjoying mentality. Their only purpose is to serve Krishna, serve Vishnu, serve Lord Narayan. And for that there is unlimited variegatedness. So there is variety in the world around us. And Prabhupada writes that one way to think is, if there is variety all around us, then that variety has to come from somewhere. And Prabhupada writes that there is unlimited spiritual variety. And the variety that we see in the world is but a perverted reflection of that spiritual variety, is what Prabhupada mentions. So there is a lot of variety. So because there is variety, there is so much seva, so much service available there. And then it says in one place that there are these ladies in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world. They are actually dusting the floors of Vaikuntha. And then and why this is important is, another aspect of the spiritual world is that everything is chintamani, everything is sentient. Like there is nothing non-living in the spiritual world. Everything is living and everything is pristine. Everything is like a touchstone chintamani. So how would dust even get settled over there, right? One might think. But then these ladies, they are actually dusting the floors, the walls of Vaikuntha. And then Prabhupada writes that because they are doing that, because they wanted the grace of Krishna. They wanted to, Krishna to bestow his grace on them. So it's like when we think about seva, when we think about love, our usual rationality, actually especially when we talk about spiritual love, our mundane rationality falls short when we try to understand. So that's how I understood this point of, the all-powerful God. Why does he need doorkeepers? So, but anyway, so that's Jay and Vijay. So they are the doorkeepers. And of course, Krishna is Krishna, Lord Narayan. He's there in the pastime as well. So the story goes that these Kumaras, these 4 Kumaras, the 4 children who have restricted their age to 5 years, they are in that light, in that effulgence that lies between the material worlds and the spiritual worlds. So they are roaming. And then they have heard, so when Lord Brahma, their father, he gave them knowledge. Actually, he gave them knowledge about the all-loving aspect of God as well. But then for whatever reason, when they got that knowledge, they actually were more attracted, got attached to the all-pervasive aspect of God. And then because they were attached to that, they were roaming about, they were liberated souls. They were not bound by any of the material encumbrances. So they were roaming about in this all-pervasive light of God. And then, as I said, beyond that light are the spiritual worlds. So they find this, they look, that's the Vaikuntha planets apparently. So, and we have heard from our dad that, God is all-loving. His form is so beautiful, unlimitedly beautiful. Let's try to go and meet him. It's their very sincere desire. It's not like a desire, it's not like a mundane desire for their own gratification. They really want to, witness the Lord. So it says that with an open and non-duplicitous mind, the Kumaras went to the doors of Vaikuntha. So Vaikuntha had 7 doors and they passed uninterrupted through the first 6. And then when they came to the 7th door, they were stopped by these 2 beings, Jay and Vijay, who are the doorkeepers. I have a 3-year-old son. And when I stop him from doing something, he throws such tantrums, and nowadays he's so high energy. And then one of the things he does is, he bangs doors and things like that. So it is written in one of the purports that if you check children from doing something, they usually throw tantrums, they become angry, right? So although they are very highly realized beings, these four Kumaras are children after all, and that's what happened. But the only difference was the Kumaras weren't ordinary children wandering without any purpose. They were highly realized beings, and their anger was not just the anger of a child. It's not like they just banged a door and they were fine, right? They did a lot more. They cursed Jay and Vijay. So Jay and Vijay, they were actually, it is said that their disposition in stopping these realized souls from entering Vaikuntha was actually unpalatable to the Lord, to Krishna, because one might say, yeah, as doorkeepers, isn't it their duty to stop and check? But then Prabhupada writes that actually no one can enter the spiritual world, no one can enter into the God's abode unless they are completely pure. And and Jay Vijay should have known that. So they should not have committed this offense of stopping the four Kumaras. So that's what happens. And Shri So they stop these four Kumaras from entering, and they are a little angry. It says their facial expressions are described like, when we are angry. I'm not unable to make that face right now, but when they are when they are angry, when we are angry, we make like our eyebrows are like this and whatever. Yeah. So they make that face and they stop them with their sticks. You cannot go in. And then these Kumaras, they become offended and they say that you seem like imposters because you are ignorant beings. You are your disposition is not as per the disposition of the Lord, because we know that the Lord is all merciful, all loving, but you are you're obstructing our service, our desire to see the Lord. So that is why we want to curse you. Now, it's not that they curse out of anger, they are self-realized beings. And Bhagavad Gita describes that self-realized beings are Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na Shochati na Kankshati. They are beyond all Shochati, lamentation, and Kankshati, desires. Right? So they were beyond all that. So they were beyond anger. So they punish. So they are punishing Jay and Vijay is actually out of a concern that Jay and Vijay, you are stopping us. Your consciousness befits the consciousness of a conditioned living entity. So we want to punish you so that you can be reformed, is their intention. So it was for their benefit, is what the Kumaras are thinking. Their highest benefit should be bestowed upon them so that they get reformed in the world. They actually get to understand what it means to be influenced by the modes, by the miseries of the material world. So in that consciousness they curse. There is a tinge of anger. Because they are kids and they are obstructed from. And in this connection, what Prabhupada writes is, anger is actually the anger of a liberated soul and the anger of a conditioned soul. There is a difference in quality of that anger. The anger of a conditioned soul, the anger arises because there is obstruction to the sense gratification of the conditioned soul. That is when anger comes. So it is said lust, anger and greed is like a triangle. So lust is desire. When lust is fulfilled, when desire is fulfilled, it transforms into greed. You want more of it. And when it is thwarted, then that becomes anger. But then Prabhupada mentions that in terms of liberated souls, pure devotees, they are not angry because of their own sense gratification being obstructed. They are angry because they get angry because the service to the Lord becomes obstructed. See, desire, anger and greed. So desire, this is something I'm just getting a thought in my mind. So when you have pure desire, there is greed also, because it is said that you need intense greed to love Krishna, right? And at the same time, there could be anger also, because when that sincere desire to serve is thwarted, the anger manifests. So Prabhupada talks about that, selfish versus selfless anger. And he also writes that spiritual world liberation does not mean one negates all emotions. So spiritual world, or the spiritual enlightenment, means that our emotions are actually directed for a higher purpose, for Krishna's pleasure. In any case, coming back to this. So this is going on, the Kumaras, they curse Jay and Vijay. And then the Lord, he understands, something is going on at 9 gates. So then it is said that he hurriedly goes there. He runs and he tries to instantly get there. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that he goes there hurriedly because he's thinking that, oh my God, now the Kumaras have cursed my dear devotees Jay and Vijay. If I don't go and intervene in this situation, they might vanquish them for good. So I don't want that to happen, so let me go and see what's happening. And now this is where that verse comes that we read in the beginning. So by seeing the form of Krishna, so till now the Kumaras, they had witnessed Krishna, Vishnu, Lord Narayan in their heart. They had knowledge about him, but now they are actually getting to witness him. And seeing that, there is a very complete spiritual transformation. So there is a verse that says in Krishna Karanamrit, Madhuram Madhuram Vapurasya Vibhor Madhuram Madhuram Vadanam Madhuram Madhugandhi Miridu Smitam Etadaho Madhuram 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 Madhuram. So this verse, it says that Krishna's body, it's transcendental and it's very sweet. But you know what is even sweeter than Krishna's body? Any guesses? His face is what this verse says. His face is sweeter even than Krishna's body. And you know what is even sweeter than Krishna's face?
Smile?
Yes. Yes. So Krishna's smile is even, sweeter than oh Lord, oh my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body, but his soft smile, which has the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. So we can remember this when we take darshan of the Lord after this discussion. Everything about the Lord is sweet. It's like honey, and it is our fortune that the Lord manifests as deity, in his form as a deity, because then we get to witness the form of the Lord on a level which we can perceive. That is his mercy actually. It's compassion that he's manifesting in this stone. Although he's not stone, God is not stone, but God is so merciful that he manifests in a stone, just so that conditioned beings like us can witness his form and be benefited by it. So although the form is made of stone, but we need to understand that, and scriptures have a lot of detailed descriptions about it, that form is transcendental. Radha Muralidhar Gaurachandra, their form is transcendental. And the way we look at them, that is the way they will reciprocate. If we look at them as stone, then Krishna will say, sure, if you want to look at me as stone, I will play the role of a stone. I will not do anything. I'll be a stone. But if you see the same deities as Krishna himself, if we see the same deities as sentient beings as God, and we pray to them, then Krishna says, yes, I love this. I will reciprocate with you. So it's like that, the way we approach Krishna, that way he reciprocates with us. So seeing this form of the Lord, the Kumaras, they completely, get mesmerized. Their search for spiritual realization reaches its zenith, because there is nothing beyond this. This is the ultimate thing. Witnessing God face to face, that's the ultimate fulfillment of all our desires. And the Kumaras have reached this stage. They are witnessing the Lord. And then now, a paradigm shift takes place in the heart of the Kumaras. So now they become humbled. They are like, and also one more detail which is mentioned is when the Lord appeared, he's smiling both at the Kumaras and at Jay and Vijay. It's not that the Lord came and he's Jay Vijay. Not like that. He's smiling. He's nicely smiling at both the parties. And So the Lord comes and the Kumaras, they are completely transformed. And now their disposition totally changes, and they are like, and there is a whole discussion that happens. And the Lord, when he appears and when the Kumaras, they witness this form, uh, the Kumaras, they actually start praying that they glorify the Lord, they glorify him very nicely in choice words, and then they say that, this Jay and Vijay, they were actually innocent. Sorry, dear Lord, out of our anger we cursed them. Although it's not exactly true, there is some level of anger, but even that anger was for their benefit, from their perspective, from the Kumara's perspective. They wanted to bestow the highest benefit on Jay and Vijay. So from that perspective they did it, but then they were so humbled by looking at the Lord, by being transformed, that they said, we made a mistake here. Now, if you want to curse us, dear Lord Narayan, to go into the material worlds, please do curse us. We'll happily accept it. So, and then Prabhupada writes in one more, I mean, at many places, at multiple places, Prabhupada writes in this chapter. This is the 15th chapter of the 3rd canto. He writes that by chance, Jay and Vijay stopped. By chance, Jay and Vijay offended, or whatever. It says by chance. Prabhupada wrote by chance, because the thing is, as I mentioned initially in that the steps of cosmology, ignorance or anything material cannot reach the spiritual worlds. So then one question that is often asked is, hey, how then were Jay Vijay, how did they offend such great souls? If you are saying that spiritual worlds, everybody is completely pure, then this should not happen. But then there is a higher purpose in this as well, and that comes in the 16th chapter. And then when Krishna appears, when Lord Narayan appears at the scene, he actually does the job of a very, very, very expert conflict resolution person. So, and I will not get into the details of what he says, but I'll just summarize quickly and then we'll get into the lessons. So, he says that, Brahmanas are very dear to me. Brahmanas are extremely dear to me, and if somebody offends Brahmanas, then I don't like it. I really don't like it. So, dear 4 Kumaras, these servants of mine, Jay and Vijay, have offended you. Actually, I take responsibility for that. I take full responsibility for that. So, Lord Narayan is exhibiting the qualities of a true leader, where he is taking responsibility for the mistakes of his subordinates. So, he's saying, sorry, I take responsibility for what happened. And he's saying that, he's glorifying Brahmanas. Krishna is known as Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha. When we offer bhoga to Krishna, we recite this prayer. Go Brahmana Pratipalak. Krishna is, Krishna says, 3 people are very dear to me. Of course, everybody is dear to Krishna. It's not that some. But then in this context, Krishna is saying Brahmanas, cows, and defenseless beings are very dear to Krishna, very dear to him, he's saying. And then anybody who does something offensive towards these beings, then I am very much displeased. So like this, he's telling the 4 Kumaras that, yeah, I agree that Jay and Vijay made a mistake. And then he, the final thing, what happens is, Jay and Vijay, it's interesting how they respond to the curse also. So what happens is, when the Kumaras curse, then they suddenly become, they suddenly get sobered up, so to say. And they are like, okay, we accept what you have given us, but can you just make this arrangement, important arrangement, that we never forget the Lord. You can cast us into the world of matter, that is okay, but please don't put us in a situation where we forget the Lord. Right? That is one of the things we'll see later on also. So this happens. Krishna then he speaks to the Kumaras, and then it is said that, as I said, the higher purpose, right? How did the Kumaras who were living in Vaikuntha, so they are supposed to be completely realized and pure spiritual beings, how did they make this mistake? So then the higher purpose which is mentioned is that Krishna, Lord Narayan, actually wanted to have the pleasure of fighting. And it's like we have a tendency to fight sometimes, but the source of the tendency is from Krishna. Krishna also has a tendency to fight, but his fighting is also for the benefit of humanity. And then Prabhupada writes, who other than Krishna's dear devotees can do this job, can do this service of fighting with Krishna, fighting with Lord Narayan. And that's why he wanted Jay and Vijay to do that service. And that is why the Lord says that, all this has happened, but know this, dear Jay and Vijay, that this is all happening by my will. So don't worry about it. And then he blesses Jay and Vijay that you will go to the world of matter, and I don't want to make a situation where I will defy the words of a Brahmana. So I don't want to do that. So you will go to the world of matter, but you will do this valuable seva, valuable service of fighting with me. And then the four Kumaras, Jay and Vijay, actually they said that they are given two options. They are told that you have two options. One option is you go to the world of matter as devotees for 7 lives. You can be devotees there, might be your devotees for 7 lifetimes, or you can go as demons for 3 lifetimes. And then Jay and Vijay, they say that no, we can't bear separation from you for 7 lives. We want to get back to our seva as the doorkeeper. So we choose the latter. We go as demons for 3 lives. And the 3 lives of Jay and Vijay, first is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So actually the story, this chapter comes in the context of Hiranyaksha's killing. Lord Varahadev, the boar incarnation of Vishnu, he comes and kills Hiranyaksha. And there is an exchange going on between, I think, Vidura and Maitreya. So Vidura asks a question, how did this happen? And things like that. And that's where this story is narrated. So, and then the second incarnation of Jay and Vijay is Ravana and Kumbhakaran. So Lord Ram killed them. So in Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha was killed by Varahadev. Hiranyakashipu was killed by Narasimhadev. Then in Ravana and Kumbhakaran, they both of them, I don't know if Ravana was killed by Lord Ram for sure. I don't remember who killed Kumbhakaran. Was it Lord Ram? Maybe it was Bharat, I don't remember now. But anyway, they were killed by the Lord as well. And then the third incarnation of Shishupal and Dantavakra. Shishupal was that person who had 100, he had a limit of 100 criticisms to Krishna. Krishna had said, as soon as you cross that 100 mark, you will be finished. And that's what happened. So 100 out of 100. Anyway, so and then Shishupal and Dantavakra. I don't know so much about Dantavakra. I haven't read that much about him, but he was also a demoniac king during the time of Krishna. So that is the story. Now, what lessons can we draw, right? So I thought of this math acronym. Okay. So first of all, in this past time, there was a misunderstanding, right? So there was a misunderstanding, and Prabhupada writes that they, I've heard classes where devotees say that they neglected to respect Jay and Vijay, they neglected to respect the 4 Kumaras. And I was thinking about this, that spiritual life is actually personal. Spiritual life teaches us to be personal. And it teaches that every living being, despite their status, despite their position, despite their age even, or despite their species even, they deserve respect. Of course, the way we express our respect to them will differ as per time, place and circumstance. But the fact remains that the respect has to be given. And then the 4 Kumaras, they neglected to respect. Neglect itself is a very traumatic thing. When, a lot of traumas that are caused during childhood to so many people, that a major reason is neglect. So, because the soul yearns for connection, we as spirit souls, it is very innate to us, we yearn for connection. And when we are neglected, that becomes a very big negative impression in us. So, and especially on the path of spiritual life, when we forget or take for granted the fact that every living being, every devotee is a person, and we need to interact in a personal manner, then that creates a lot of conflict, that creates a lot of turmoil in communities and in personal lives as well. So that the lesson is that we need to remember that this neglect needs to be given up to the extent we can, and in a genuine way, and respect devotees. And then one more thing that is said here is the disharmony between living entities and the Supreme Lord. So in one of the purports, Prabhupada writes that fear is caused when there is a disharmony between the will of God and the will of the devotee, will of the living entity. And that is the misunderstanding that happened here also. And another, actually, the neglect to respect or any kind of neglect, it actually takes place because of this disposition that I am in the center of everything. When we make an attempt to get out of this consciousness that I am in the center of everything, then we can start acknowledging and respecting everyone. So very high state of being, but it is something that the Shastras say we should aspire for. And then the next one, A, right, acceptance. So when they were cursed, Jay and Vijay, they accepted the curse. It's not that we curse you back. No, none of those things happened. You are a rascal. You are a rascal. None of those things happened. They accepted the curse. They said that yes, we realize that we have offended you, dear Kumaras, and we accept this curse. And in the purport, Prabhupada writes that the most intolerable thing for devotees is to forget Krishna, is to be put in a state where they forget Krishna. So, and that's what Jai Vijay say. They don't care about the fact that they are being cursed and they have to go to the world of matter and whatever, take 3 lives and whatnot. They just say that please help us remember you, remember the Lord. And in our case, right, so we have this, so I was trying to map this, right. There is this math acronym that applies to the story as well as the math acronym applies to our lives. So we have a misunderstanding of our position in the world. We think that we are the enjoyers and then we think we are in the center, right. But then, and because we think like that, because of that misunderstanding, we are lifetimes after lifetimes, we are trying to enjoy matter. But then in the Shastras it is said that after doing this life after life, when one accepts that there is no spiritual pleasure involved in these things, there is no deepest fulfillment involved in these things, that is when spiritual life actually begins. So that acceptance has to be there. Of course, in this case, the Kumaras accepted, Jai Vijay accepted that they had made a mistake. But in the life of a spiritual seeker, that acceptance is in the form of yes, I am not the center, and I need to accept that material pleasures have a beginning, have an end. Maybe they'll give us a comfortable life, but then whether they will really appeal to our deepest calling, that is something we need to reconsider. When we accept that, right, that is when spiritual life begins. And then acceptance also in our case, this acceptance that the world of matter will not give us the deepest pleasure will actually also kind of prod us into accepting the association of saintly persons. And that is when we make more progress. And what happens when we start experiencing, so what happens when we accept saintly association, and what happens when the Lord starts manifesting in our lives? We experience transformation. So that is the verse that we saw today when the Kumaras, they breathed the breeze that brushed off of the tulsi leaves that the Lord was adorned with. They were completely transformed. So this spiritual transformation, so what happens is this misunderstanding and this acceptance creates an intense necessity in the life of a seeker to search for Krishna, to associate with devotees and to have that motivation to go deeper, right? And when we start experiencing reciprocation from Krishna, Krishna may not reciprocate with us by appearing before us. Maybe he has appeared before you in his same form, but then for most sadhakas that does not happen. So how does Krishna start manifesting his grace, right? That transformation is, it starts going deeper. We experience turning points in our life, right? We start going deeper, and the way we think, the way we view the world, the actions that we do, everything has a deeper motivation of connecting to Krishna. So that is the spiritual transformation that happens. And even these turning points, these paradigm shifts, they don't end when you come to the path. You enter the path of spiritual life, that is just the beginning, but even within the path of spiritual life, and I've experienced this personally, that I've had multiple paradigm shifts even within spiritual life. It's not that spiritual life is static. You get progressively deeper and deeper in your understanding, and through the association of saintly people. Right? And then finally, now H is humility, right? Now we often think of humility as a precursor to spiritual transformation. That is there in the acceptance part. There is humility involved over there. But then humility is also the result of spiritual transformation. So the more we know God, the more we know Krishna, the humbler we become. And the lesser we know God, we become more prideful. We start thinking that we are in the center again. Right? So Maharaj says, if you're proud of knowing God, that means you don't know God. We could be proud of God, but not of ourselves. So Krishna is so great, beautiful and wonderful that our full satisfaction is in praising Him, and disconnected from that we are trying to find it in ourselves. So humility, so the more we know Krishna, the more we understand how great He is. And the more we understand how great He is, the more we understand how insignificant we are. So that is why the result of spiritual transformation is actually humility. If we, often this question is asked, even I have asked this question so many times, how do we gauge spiritual progress? What is the way to understand whether I'm really progressing or not? So the way to understand whether I'm really progressing or not is I'm becoming more and more humble. I'm becoming more and more attuned to the fact that I'm not the center of everything, that Krishna is the center of everything, that Guru is the center of everything. And that way we progress. Anyway, each of these things can be discussed in such great detail, but I'll not get into those. So tomorrow is Sharad Purnima, the beginning of Kartik, and it is a month of transformation if we choose to utilize it. So Kartik is very dear to Krishna. Kartik, my mentor was mentioning yesterday that Kartika is one of the names of Radharani. So this month is especially very dear to Radharani. And if we the practice that is a very beautiful practice that is done every day during the month of Kartik is offering of lambs to Krishna. And the pastime of Damodar took place, which is again a beautiful pastime. So tomorrow the month of Kartik begins, and we can try to utilize that as much as possible to offer lambs, and through those lambs to offer our hearts to Krishna, and that way go closer to Him. So we have 2 more minutes. If there is any feedback, questions or comments.
No, that's fine.
Raise your hand.
No.
Thank you for class, wonderful. I don't get to come to these often, so this is awesome. I was thinking you were mentioning that Prabhupada kept saying by chance, which I love, and it reminds me of so often we see the word providence all over the place. And earlier this year, I was really doing the research. Providence means the protection of God. So it seems like by chance, but all of it was all under protection of Krishna. It's all Him being the puppet master to bring everyone, all of the characters, closer to Him. So that really just struck out to me that Prabhupada kept using by chance, but it's not. It's all Krishna's will and His design.
Definitely. Thank you for that. And actually, it is said that when Jay and Vijay they accepted the curse, and then the Lord actually told them that you are such dear devotees of mine. I orchestrated all this, but if you don't want to go to the world of matter, then tell me. I'll nullify the curse. And then initially they say no. If it's for your happiness that we have to go to the material world and be there, then we are ready to do it. And then even then they think that, well, really, do we want to do that? We are here with the Lord, right? And then the Lord blesses them that you can actually be here in your form, in your expansion. You can actually continue being doorkeepers in your expansion, and at the same time be in the world of matter. And this Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he reveals, and this was so mind-blowing for me. So he reveals in his commentary on Bhagavatam, on this section, that Jay and Vijay, they were actually simultaneously in Vaikuntha also as the doorkeepers, and they were simultaneously incarnating as Hiranyakashipu. And he proves this using Shastra. In the Bali Maharaj pastime, in the 8th canto, when Vamanadev, who is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, tells his associates to arrest Bali Maharaj, and the associates of Lord Vishnu, Vamanadev, are mentioned, and two names come there, Jai and Vijay. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur uses that to prove that actually they were there in their Swarupa form, in their form as Jai and Vijay in the Vaikuntha planets, and at the same time. Because Bali Maharaj is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, and so he's the great grandson of Hiranyakashipu. So then this is where it gets inconceivable. But then the Lord blessed them like that they could expand and be there at both places. Yeah. So that's the protection that the Lord is giving them. Thank you for that beautiful point.
Beautiful. Any other questions, comments?
No, we'll end there. His Grace Jagannath Gopal Das ki. Thank you so much for this very lovely class and the acronym. I love ending with the acronym. It's like such a good tangible
It's a good way to
takeaway.
think about math, is supposed to be.
Yes, this is what I hoped math would mean. So thank you all for clearing the cushions and the chairs. We'll now come forward and have our tea together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, please.
जय श्री शिवाय भगवत की Hare Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki, Vrindavan Ki, Mayapur Ki, Bhaktan Ki, Sankirtan Ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki. All glory to some Lord, Hare Krishna. All glory to some Lord,
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Krishna. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We have a few announcements before we have prasadam together in the back. So, as Jagannath Gopal alluded to in his class today, we have a very special month coming up. So tomorrow kicks off the month of Kartik. So every day during Kartik, there will be an offering of lamps in the temple room at 8:30 p.m. for their lordships, except on Sundays, which will happen during this program, during Bhagavat Sravana. So tomorrow we start Kartik with the appearance day of Gaurachandra. Haribol! So please join us for that festival tomorrow. It will start at 6:30 p.m. There will be Gaura Arti, we will have a class, we will have the first Damodar Astakam, so singing and offering those ghee lamps, and prasadam at 9 p.m. So please join us tomorrow for Gaurachandra's Appearance Day Festival and kicking off the month of Kartik. During this auspicious month, we also invite our congregation, if they're so interested and feel inspired, to sponsor a day for their lordship. So providing the boga and the flowers and everything that goes into caring for the deities. It's a very auspicious month to do so. So you can feel free to sponsor the lamps, the flowers, the boga. On our website, you can check out bhakticenter.org and select sponsor a day to see those opportunities available to you. And then there are quite a few festivals that are coming up in the next month or two, so just something to start keeping note of in your calendar. So we have, as I noted, Gaurachandra's Appearance Day tomorrow. We have Diwali on October 20th. We have Govardhan Puja on October 22nd. We have Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day on October 25th. And we have Festival of 1,000 Lights on November 5th. All of those days are highlighted, those festivals are highlighted on Bhakti Center's website. You can find ways to volunteer for those festivals, to donate for those festivals, and engage in whatever way feels most inspiring to you. Lastly, this is a community-run program, as are almost all of the programs at Bhakti Center. So we encourage you, if you feel inspired, there will be a donation basket out front near Prasadam, as well as a QR code if scanning online and donating that way is easier for you. We're so grateful that you spent your Sunday with us. Please come back and enjoy Prasadam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.